and thank you so much for joining me for some Saturday night crafting. Tonight's one is a short one, but a really fun, exciting one in which you'll probably have everything you need in your stash to create some really, really awesome backgrounds. So for my technique today, I'm using all things that kind of have mica powder in them. So I've got some perfect pearls, I've got makeup, eyeshadow, this blush highlighter thing that I picked up from Primark on clearance. I bought it specifically for crafting. I'm also using some explosion powders from Pretty Gets Gritty. Now I'm going to share with you how you use them all and how they can all have such an awesome cool effect. My biggest disappointment was actually the perfect pearls. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm using a flat brush. This one here was from Shein for about £1. So really cheap, flat brush is perfect. You want a really nice fluffy soft one. And then VersaMark or your stamping embossing ink, the sticky ink, is the star of the show again in this video. It is really awesome. So all we're going to do is we're going to stamp down our image. You can use outline image, you can use solid images, whatever stamps you've got in your stash. I'm using this one from scrapbook.com. Stamp it down with your embossing ink, your sticky clear embossing ink, and then you're going to pick up some of your powder and just kind of gently brush it over the top. And I find a nice flat brush works really, really well because I get a nice even spread. So there's the first one. This is Perfect Pearls. I don't recommend it. I don't know if I'm using it wrong. If you're meant to set it with water, I think that might be what I was supposed to do, but I didn't want to use water in this. All the other powders work perfect, but the Perfect Pearls, you'll see at the end of the video, just rub straight off. They just come right off. They don't really work. But everything else works a dream. So again, I'm doing a background stamp, so you can see you do it in a bigger, larger scale if you want as well. And you just dust it on with your brush. Now to clean my brush in between each of these projects, I just kind of rubbed it onto a dry cloth and that kind of took off all the powder. You can use whatever you've got in your stash. So I'm using some makeup. The easiest way I found to get it out of the makeup palette was to use a toothbrush. Obviously, I'm not going to use this on my eyes. I'm not going to actually use it in makeup. I wouldn't recommend that if you're going to use it in your craft room, because obviously you could end up putting some nasty stuff into your eyes by accident. So I wouldn't recommend that. But you can go ahead and scrape it out of your eyeshadow palette, and the easiest way is just grab an old toothbrush. I use mine for cleaning stamps, and I just kind of scrape some of that powder out. So here I am cleaning my brush. I literally just dust it off on like a rag, and then you can go ahead and pick up that powder, try and get a nice even layer over your brush, and again just dust it on. And it's so simple and so quick, and you get this gorgeous shimmery shine. And if you're using the lighter colors of your eyeshadow or this sort of cheek powders, then you can get really beautiful subtle backgrounds for just pennies. And you've already probably got everything you need in your stash to do it. So here again is the full background stamp. It goes on a dream. I'm literally just dusting it on nice and light. It doesn't smear or smudge the embossing ink. It just takes that powder and sticks it right to it. So you can see that gorgeous shine, just as much shine as the Perfect Pearls. Now here's the sort of highlighter palette, blush, whatever they're called. I'm not really good at makeup, so I don't know what everything is called. But I really love this one because it's got this gorgeous gold, and the gold is so pretty. Again, I was struggling to pick it up with my little light fluffy brush, so I gave it a little scrape with my toothbrush and it all comes up. And then I go ahead and apply that straight onto my card front, and how stunning is that? You get this beautiful shimmer and shine. It's so beautiful. Now, if you want to step it up a notch, you can use some of these explosion powders. Lots of companies do different ones. You want the ones that have got like the bit of shine in it, the shimmery kind of mica powder. I love these ones from Pretty Gets Gritty. I've had them for a couple of years and they're still going strong. So this is the fun bit. I'm working on watercolor card now. I've just stamped it onto a watercolor card. I dust it on. You can leave it as is, and you get this kind of hint of a bluey green in there and the gold. But the fun bit comes when you add water. Now this part is really important. Dust it off really well with a flat brush. You don't want any extra specks just floating around on the card because the water will pick it up. 1 to 2 spritzes of water from really high up maximum. And you can really start to see that color forming. So if you're watching closely, you can see that bluey green color start to really pop through. It is so super pretty. Now here's the comparison of the before and after as well. So here we've got it all nice and dried. You can see that gorgeous shimmer coming through the bluey colors. And then this is what it looked like originally, just to kind of remind you. So that's the one on the left that hasn't been sprayed with water. The one on the right has been spritzed with 2 sprays of water. And then if you really wanted a nice watercolor look, you could spritz it a bit more. So this is 4 sprays of water. And when I tilt it in the light, you can see that the gold is like a perfect stamped image, and all that bled out was the color. So you get this gorgeous gold, nice and perfect, and then that kind of watercolor effect with the colors coming out from it. So really fun to play with, really unique. Now this is the disappointment with the perfect pearls. I came in and started brushing on them to make sure that they didn't come off, so that this technique wasn't a flop for me. And sadly, the perfect pearls all just brushed right off. Every single other one of my panels, nothing. They all stayed put. All the colors stayed there. It was gorgeous. The embossing ink held it. Lovely, lovely, lovely. But this perfect pearls, straight off. I barely touched it with the paintbrush and it was just coming right off. So maybe you have to spritz it with water to set it, but I didn't want to be spraying everything with water. So that was a disappointment to me. The makeup, the really cheap makeup, and the explosion powders were just the best. None of their golds and shimmers came off at all. So we're going to really quickly turn these into some quick and simple cards, because I had fun with the background, but I don't want to spend hours making the cards because we are getting quite close to Christmas now. It is a month today until Christmas, so I need to make sure my cards are ready to go and I can start getting these sent out. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my stamp in my stamp platform. If you use a ruler and butt it up against the side, you can get a nice straight image. I always wipe off my stamp once I've positioned it, just because it does pick up some of that mica powder. And some of the mica powder does rub off, just to warn you. It will come off a bit, but this is just a quick and easy Christmas card. And to be honest, the person you're giving it to is probably going to put it in the bin when they're done with Christmas. So I'm not overly bothered if that mica powder starts to rub off a bit. When they pull it out the envelope, it will look gorgeous and lovely, and I highly doubt they're going to sit there and rub their fingers all over it and pull off all the mica powder. So I wouldn't stress about that. I wouldn't worry about that. You will get some transfer coming off. My fingers were very shimmery, but as you can see, the cardstock is still plenty shimmery. So here are my finished cards. I kept them nice and simple. This one I put a few gems on the front. I used some pearlescent card to back my card panel and stuck that nice watercolor one on there. All of my cards I lined with some metallic foil card in a matte finish. So I've got some greens and some blues and some golds. And I just had fun. I just stuck them all on, stamped Merry Christmas or Joy to the World, and now I've got about 6 Christmas cards ready to go that I can hand out or post, because they're very nice and flat, so it should be really low postage. So I hope you enjoyed this one tonight, and I hope you give it a go. Super quick and easy, really fun. You should have everything you need. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.